So how exactly do you get rid of your idols more thoroughly? Hey everyone, this is Kyle and this is On the Spot Q&A where we answer your questions about God, the Bible, Jesus, or Christianity in general. Today, we're going to be talking about idolatry, and this can be somewhat of a confusing topic because when some of us think about idols, we think about those little tiki statues or that little golden monkey from Indiana Jones. And even though we see that kind of idolatry in the Bible, we don't really experience that kind of idolatry in our everyday lives today. But believe me, idolatry is very common. Let me show you what I mean. When I was in high school, my senior year, I had a girlfriend named Katie. Now, I loved Katie very much. Katie and I spent a ton of time together. We listened to country music together. We had a lot of fun together. And near the end of my senior year in high school, I was doing a quiet time. I was spending time in the Word with the Lord, and He started burdening my heart that I needed to break up with Katie. Now, this scared me to death. I wanted nothing to do with breaking up with Katie because I really loved her and I wanted to hold on to her. But God kept telling me, no, you need to break up with her. Now, why would God do that? Because here's something that God knew that I didn't recognize at the time. See, Katie had become an idol for me. Katie had become what we know an idol to be. That is something that is more important to you than God, something that you revolve your time around, your energy, your money. You devote every bit of who you are to that one thing. Katie had become an idol for me. Now, here's the problem. I was unwilling to give her up. I was a little bit like the rich man who came to Jesus and said, Jesus, I have followed all of the commandments. What more do I lack to get into the kingdom of heaven? And Jesus said, the one thing that you lack is that you need to get rid of the one thing that is most important to you. What was most important to the rich man? It was his money. It was his possessions. And Jesus said, as if he was looking into the rich man's heart, this thing that you have, these possessions, this money is more important to you than God is. If you really want to experience God, if you really want to enter into his kingdom, you need to get rid of this idol in your life. And the rich man walked away. He was sad because he had a lot of possessions. He had a lot of money and he was unwilling to give them up. I was in a similar situation. I did not want to give up Katie. When you look at idolatry that way, it's pretty easy to see that all of us struggle with idolatry from time to time. We all have things in our life that threaten to take the throne of our hearts away from the Lord. So since idolatry is a big deal, how exactly do we get rid of our idols more thoroughly? Well, there are two things that we need to do. And, the second thing is more important than the first. But let me share the first with you, and that'll help prepare our hearts for the second thing that God wants us to know about getting rid of our idols. The first thing that we need to do if we want to get rid of our idols more thoroughly is we need to dash our idols. Now, things aren't bad, all right? A girlfriend is not a bad thing. My wife, Becca, was a girlfriend at one point in time, okay? She eventually became my wife. I love my wife now. I have 2, almost 3 beautiful children. Things aren't bad. Video games aren't bad. Money is not bad. Food is not bad. The problem is when things become ultimate. When things stop being things, when things stop being blessings from God and they become more important than God. That is when something has become an idol in our life. All right? So, if something like that has become an idol in our life, we have to ask ourselves, is that thing really all that important for me to have? Because if I can't enjoy something without it becoming a God to me, if I can't enjoy something without it becoming more important than God to me, then I need to ask myself, is this thing really all that important for me to have? When I was a freshman in college, I discovered that there was something called an Xbox in video games. Now, I'm not talking about an Xbox 360 or an Xbox One. I'm talking about the original Xbox. And in our dorm, we would play a game called Halo all the time. Now, as I got older, since I went to the University of Alabama and college football was really popular, I started getting into a game called NCAA football. And I discovered that you could do seasons and you could recruit from year to year to year. I got very, very into playing this game. Now, video games aren't bad. Video games can be a great hobby. They can be a great way to spend your time, to decompress from a long day. The problem is that NCAA football started becoming more important to me than God. I started spending more time playing video games than I did actually spending time with the Lord and in His Word. And I remember at times that I would actually be playing the game, and I would be playing it for so long, I would notice the sun would begin to come up outside. I had literally stayed up all night on multiple occasions in college playing this game. I had a problem. As I got older and I realized that the problem was continuing to be a problem, I eventually took the game, I took it in my hands, and I snapped it. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to snap a disc before, but it's not this big, glorious snap. It actually took a lot of bending. It took a lot of effort, but sometimes dashing your idols takes a lot of effort. It's not something that you can do willy-nilly off the cuff so that you might regret it. Sometimes if you really want to dash your idols, you need to go the extra length to make sure that it happens. I tell you this much. After I snapped that disc, I didn't have a problem anymore with that particular idol in my life. Extreme, yes. But you know what? I had proven that it was impossible for me to actually enjoy this particular thing without it becoming an idol for me. So I needed to do the extreme to get rid of it. Now, like I said, the second thing is more important than the first. Not only do you need to dash your idols, but you need to replace your idols. You need to replace your idols with God. Now, I want to run a test for you, all right? You ready? I want you to think about the color red. Okay, now stop thinking about the color red. Stop thinking about the color red. Stop thinking about the color red. It was impossible, right? Because as long as I was telling you to stop thinking about the color red, you were thinking about the color red, all right? It's really difficult to take something away and go about your life without thinking about that thing or without yearning about that thing. And that the reason for that is because we've still got a hole within our hearts that thing took residency in. We've got to replace the thing that we got rid of with something else. See, if you really want to dash your idols, if you really want to get rid of your idols more thoroughly, you've got to replace your idols with God, all right? The best way to get rid of your idols is by falling more in love with Jesus, okay? The best way of getting rid of your idols is not a filter on your computer. It's not spending less time on your phone. All of those things are great, but they may not actually get rid of the yearning for those things in your heart. The only thing that can get rid of the yearning for idols in your heart is falling more in love with Jesus. Here's the thing I know. If you spend all of your time trying not to focus on your idol, you're going to keep focusing on your idol. But if you spend that time that you would have spent on that idol actually focusing on God, you'll slowly over time begin to stop focusing on your idol. As you stop conforming to the idolatrous pattern of this world, and you let the Lord transform your heart, transform your mind, transform your perspective, you'll begin to focus more on Him. You'll begin to fall more in love with Him. And you'll find that your love for that idol begins to fade more and more and more away until you stop thinking about it. And then you will eventually, like I did with my girlfriend Katie, begin to realize it wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. Once we experience a greater, deeper, more personal and intimate relationship with God, the relationship we had with that idol begins to fade in comparison. We begin to not want it nearly as much. I want to make sure to continue the conversation with you, so make sure to leave your comments in the section below. And if you have questions, we would love to answer them. You just need to submit your questions to onthespot@spotswood.org. You can make your own post with the hashtag onthespotqa, or you can leave your questions in the comments below, or even you can DM us on Instagram @spotswoodstudents. If you're enjoying these videos, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow us at Spotswood Students on all social media platforms. And we love you guys. We'll see you next time.